Motivation Monday. I'm here to motivate you today. Every Monday, we bring you interesting conversations. We have very informative guests who come in, share their stories, maybe something they have overcome or what they're doing to give back to the community. It's all about motivating you to arise and also become and do something. This morning, we are going to be talking about staying focused. In this generation, being focused is hard. So many things crying out for our attention. How do we stay focused? How do we become effective? In studio with us today, we have Sylvia and Jambi. Sylvia and Jambi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Yes, we need to focus.
Yes, absolutely. You need to focus.
Yes, you know, I was thinking about this earlier on. Somebody once told me, when we're talking about this generation,
yes,
and how people are all over the place, and we were wondering, why was it different in our generation? And somebody said, when you have too many choices, it becomes hard to focus.
Yes.
It becomes harder to make decisions.
Absolutely.
There's no other point of reference.
I know, there's no other point of reference, and that's true, yes. There's a lot happening, and you're right, because in our generation, I don't know if we were in the same generation, but I hope we were. Yes, there wasn't really, there was kind of one path to follow, and so it wasn't as difficult, and then there wasn't so many distractions as well. So how then do we, stay on? How do we stay focused? Even though we have the distractions are there. So I know it's difficult, and you speak about the generation that's there today, and the number of choices that they have, and also the kind of exposure that they have, and that's what is making it even more difficult for them. But learning and having a certain kind of focus is a certain kind of art that we all need to.
It doesn't come
learn.
naturally.
It doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come naturally. It's something that we will need to learn. Yes.
What would you say are some of the distractions that this generation has to contend with?
I'd say there's quite a bit. Even being able to have a certain path, as I said earlier, it's not designed for them. So it's very difficult for them to say, you know what, I'm following this path. As you said, it's like going onto a junction and then there's so many, So there are certain things that we may need to actually do, for them to remain focused. And then there's a lot that comes with the let me call them day-to-day challenges.
Yes.
But for them, they may view that as a crisis, where, and they instill certain kinds of, fear or not feeling like you got it. You know, the way you feel like, I got this. So one of the things that would potentially happen, and this is happening not just to this generation, but it's to everybody. The financial crisis that could come their way. So different kinds of crisis, financial crisis, it could be a workplace crisis. I talk a lot about the things in the career space, because that's where people are at, and people are really struggling. So workplace crisis, it could be a financial crisis, it could be a family crisis. So these are actually short-term things that are happening on a day-to-day, but they are so overwhelming. And I know that you know that people are committing suicide on a day-to-day basis,
In fact, I've always wondered, when we talk about this short-term crisis, I think about my generation. Let me talk about my generation.
But because that's the one
my point of reference.
Yes.
That we had challenges, but somehow we knew how to manage. When I tell young people my story of how I began life, how I got married, and the kind of life we lived back then, they're thinking like, are you serious? Is that true? So I keep wondering, what is it with now that people find it hard to manage some of these short-time problems? Somebody feels like the world has ended. Somebody wants to commit suicide. People are sinking into depression at a rate that we can't keep up with. Why?
Guidance, mostly. I feel like as much as our parents were tough on us, because they were, but there was a way of you feeling like, at the end of the day, it's going to eventually be okay. Yeah, and there was and there was a lot of guidance, even in terms of, like, for us, it wasn't a choice to go to church. It wasn't.
It wasn't a democracy.
No. You are going to church.
Yeah.
So such things which were actually made mandatory, and I remember my mom-in-law once said to me, that kidogo church that actually your husband, the Sunday schools and all those things, and the teachings that I gave him, are the things that hold him to date. And I mean, it's even said, even the Bible says, train or teach your child, in certain ways, and they will not depart from that. So for the us, I think we had that, and so today's generation may not have that. They have a choice. They have a choice of saying, I can go to church, I can read the Bible, I can do. They have a choice.
Okay.
For us, we didn't have a choice. So the short-term crisis becomes one of the things that's making people really just lose that focus, give up really quickly. And so when there's no ground, when you're not grounded on certain values and certain things, then it becomes very difficult for you to focus. So that ground is a problem if you're not grounded. Then, of course, we are not setting long-term goals. We are not sitting and saying, where do I want to be in 3 years or in 2 years? Yeah? And if you don't do that, this age is between 20 all the way up to 30, 33, thereabout. If you're not sitting and looking and saying, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, this is what I want to see, then it becomes very difficult for you to actually remain focused. Yeah? So that's also something else that's actually an issue. I speak a lot about the way we are not intentional.
Yeah.
We don't live intentionally.
Yes.
We want jobs, so we will wake up one day and there is a certain sequence. I want to, after I graduate, I want to get a job.
Yeah.
There's a certain, of course, desperation to getting employed. And you're very focused on a certain path that you want to follow. I want a job, and then after that, this is what I want. You don't draw it out for yourself in terms of, this is where I want to see myself in 5 years or in 3 years. Yeah? So it becomes very difficult for you to focus if you don't set strategic long-term goals.
But are we raised up in culture to think that way? Because I feel like we are raised up, the scenario you've painted is the scenario we are raised up to believe.
Yeah.
Finish school, get this good job, find a good house, buy a nice car. So that's what we aspire for.
Yes.
And so when you talk about setting these long-term goals, we don't see the need to set them because they have already been set for us. This is what society demands of us.
Yeah.
And I find that we are not taught how to think critically and to ask questions and to interrogate concepts and ideas. We are taught to believe and to submit and to become. This is the path. So I'm just wondering, how does that affect this whole issue of setting long-term plans, decision-making and all that, and handling crisis as well?
Yeah. I like what you said about us, things are defined for us, and it's conformity. It's we are conforming to things because that's what has been fed to us.
Yes.
Yeah. However, for you to actually remain focused, for you to actually be successful, you will need to set certain long-term, and they need to be strategic, not just goals, but strategic goals.
Okay.
Yeah. People make New Year resolutions all the time. Yeah. But those don't work. Yeah. They would need to be objective. They would need to be goals that you sit and say this, and you have a path, and you have kind of other smaller short-term goals, which are kind of stepping stones that get you there. Yeah. And I like to refer to a verse. Is it a verse or certain verses in the Bible? Is it Habakkuk or Habakkuk? Depends on where you went to school.
Depends on who your English teacher was.
I know, Habakkuk. Yeah. I think 2:2. I'm not very sure. You should be able to help me real quickly. But it's about writing your vision.
Yes,
yeah.
making it plain.
Yes, make it plain. And writing for me, and let me just speak from experience, writing for me has been everything. And this is last year and this year. Yeah. Okay. And it's a friend of mine who taught me how to write what I want, how to write my goals down. Because most of the times we have those goals in our heads. And that's the problem. We have it in our heads. So this is, you want a car, so you say, you put it in your head. But writing has been everything for me, because when you sit down and you write down, and sometimes it could go all the way up to 10, don't mind, because that's what you want, and that's what you're asking God to actually, you know, that's what you're telling God, this is what I'd like. So writing that down helps you to visualize it. It also helps you to kind of tick it out when it happens, and to see, am I on the right path? You can't just be walking aimlessly. You will need to have a certain path crafted. Yeah, so that is really important. And I feel that so many of us don't know how to do that.
We haven't been taught.
I know, I know. Sadly, yes, we haven't been taught. But one of the things I've learned this year is to unlearn things. We keep telling ourselves we want to learn.
And I think that unlearning part is even harder than the learning part.
It is.
Because some things are so ingrained in us. We look at life from specific lenses that have been on us for such a long time. When you tell us to unlearn, we are thinking, how? How do you even begin the process of unlearning?
Yeah, unlearning is very difficult. It's very difficult because this is something that has been engraved in your mind for years.
Yes.
So then how do you tell me to stop? It's something you...
This is just how I think and how I do life.
Yes. Yes, but you can unlearn. If you put your mind to it, you can unlearn. It takes a lot of, let me say, coming down and being humble. Yeah, when you humble yourself and tell yourself, let me just unlearn. Or let me unlearn this. I'm not a know-it-all. Let me unlearn this. And I mean, even Gen Zs are, being in the career space, I can tell you, there's so much to learn from Generation Z.
Yeah, I agree.
So much to learn from them.
Yes.
And even as a leader, most of the times, even in the workplace, you'll find yourself sometimes guiding these Gen Zs in a certain path, and they're rejecting. They're pushing back.
Yeah.
But as a leader, you're like, this is disrespect. Why are you pushing back?
Yes.
I'm trying to guide you. I am older than you.
Yes,
I know better. Yeah. But then again, when you listen keenly, you may unlearn something.
Yes, you may know better, but they know different.
That is true.
Yes.
But they know different.
Yes.
And some of the times, the things they know actually work. They work better, they work faster.
Yeah.
They're very open-minded. They're not locked into a certain kind of space. So it takes a lot of unlearning for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to your story, you said writing down has really made a big difference.
Yes.
From last year.
Yeah.
Give us a bit more detail. For somebody who still has their goals in their head, for that one who's still trying to find the goals to put in their heads first so that they can write them down.
Yeah.
So what exactly happened? What change, what tangible change have you seen in your life?
Yeah. So I remember there's a friend who got a really good job, you know, and I said, oh my goodness, you're like so lucky. Like, how did you nail this?
Yes.
You know, and being in the career space and being in career coaching, because I am a career coach, one of the things that I've always trained people to do is to negotiate for salaries.
Okay.
Yeah. Sitting on a table, how much do you want? How much do you want to see in your payslip? And she said, you know, I have written these things down. I wrote these things last year. I wrote that, God, I would want to see this amount X. I am looking for a flexible job. I am looking for a remote job. Like being very specific.
Very specific, yeah.
Because most of the times we just go and say, you know, I want a job. I want a really good income. But what is a good income?
Exactly.
You know? So writing helps you to be specific.
Okay.
It helps you to unpack it and to break it down, you know. And I also realized that there are some little personal, let me not call them little, but these things which you want to do. Maybe you want to travel.
Yes.
You want to, you want some nice things for yourself, but you don't write them.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
What if what I want is unrealistic?
There's nothing like that.
There's nothing like that?
Before God,
Yes.
there is nothing like unrealistic.
We are the ones who limit ourselves.
We limit ourselves, and then we also limit God.
Okay.
So we tell him, we are like, okay, God, okay, give me a job that pays me like 200,000. But I mean, you haven't, he's your father. So one of the things I've learned is, it's like the way my dad was very, he's those old school dads. So if you're going to him, you needed to go having written down things. Yeah? Specifics. Like, okay, Dad, I want to make my hair. It is 2,300 shillings.
Yes.
I also want to buy a new pair of jeans.
Yes.
It is 1,200. And so it's something which I have,
Yes.
you know, I know where it's coming from. So I'm always like, if my earthly father, you know, I'd go to him with these things and he'd be like, okay, this is what you want. Then here.
Yeah.
So what about him who has, you know, everything?
But him, he knows before I even ask.
No. That is the thing.
Yes, he knows before I even ask, so why do I need to tell him details?
But so we are
That's
being
what
told,
many of us think.
I know.
Yeah.
We do that a lot.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Dennis had sent in a question.
Yes.
How do I teach my children to be strategic thinkers and planners?
Yeah. I like that, you know, he's thinking about teaching his kids on how they can actually become strategic thinkers and do better, perhaps, you know. There's something called vision boarding, and we think it's just for grown-ups and for adults, but it's not. Children can actually vision board, and you could teach your children how to vision board. Vision boarding is let me call it an art, or let me call it basically putting down, yes, those dreams that we were talking about, but in pictures. Okay? It's in picture form, so it's a board.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to Canada, if you want to go to Canada on holiday with your family, you will get a picture of Canada and you will put it there. So it has different sections. It has like finances, a finances section. It has a career section. It has about, I think, 8 or 10 sections, which you just put on there. And it's something which I want to do for my son, because I realized he has he wants to be an astronaut.
Ooh.
There's no astronaut in Kenya, actually. He's going to be the first. So if you're looking to make him visualize that, then put it down. Teach them how to put things down.
Okay.
But children speak the language, depending on how young they are, they speak the language of, you know, they see more. They're very visual.
They're very visual.
You know, so if they're younger, you could use that.
Okay.
If they are older, it's a preteen or a teen, you could teach them to still write. Because writing, like, you know, on a journal or something like that. And then the power of this is when it happens. That's where the power is. The power is when those things are fulfilled for them.
Yeah.
And they will, I can assure you. When they write something and it's something that they really need or they want, if they write it down and it happens, they will never stop. It becomes something which, you know, they keep, you know, doing all their lives.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's something there's nothing you cannot teach a child. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a university student with more than 1,000 goals. 1,000.
Yeah.
If you have many goals, how do you tell which goals to write down and which goals not to? You have 1,000 goals and you haven't written them down. Anajuaje ni thao?
Thao. I'm estimate.
Probably they're even more.
Yeah.
So what do you tell this student?
So it's hard for goals to be 1,000.
Hizo ni mingi.
Yeah.
Sana.
Yeah. They can't be 1,000. Because goals, as we said, you know, they have to be very objective. Yeah. So most of the times you'll see your goals are about 5.
Yeah.
They have to be and they're difficult to achieve. Goals are not, I want to go to Mombasa. Okay, it could be a short-term goal, yeah. But long-term, it wouldn't be that.
Yeah.
It would be perhaps I want to own land in Malindi, or, you know, it's something which is not as easy to achieve, yeah. So you may want to break that down. You may want to prioritize and break that down and see what really are the goals, as opposed to these short-term ones, which, you know, they come and go and they're easily achievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that all of us go through.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who lives in our head.
Oh, yes.
There's a guy who lives in our head.
There's that guy.
Sometimes he can't keep quiet. And
he's
very
negative. Talking, and he's very
negative. He has
negative.
nothing good to say. How do these negative voices, and usually it's the self-talk we have.
Yeah.
You know, like the question I asked you, you know, what if my goals are a bit unrealistic?
Yes.
Yeah. How do we deal with that negative conversation in our heads?
One of the things I've realized is that it's not even people who pull us down. It's ourselves.
It's ourselves, yeah.
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 We pull ourselves down, and then the way we portray ourselves, if you hang around someone who's very positive and they can't be crushed, people leave them alone. They're like, this person, you know, I can't bring them down, you know. But if you give people the room to think that they can push you down or bring you down, then they do it. Because humans are humans. you know, and not everyone is going to be your cheerleader, but we are our own enemies in terms of the negative thoughts that are in our minds.
Why do we gravitate more towards the negative than the positive? Even if I'm even looking at the scenario we are in right now where politics is concerned.
Yeah.
And we have a lot more negative things to say than positive.
Yeah.
And I keep wondering, why do we do that?
Yeah. Most of the times, it's you know, old habits, the way you pick up a habit and then it just starts to, because even before, and let me go into psychology a bit, before you actually get depressed, yeah, before you even get to the point you feel like you want to commit suicide, it usually starts in your mind. Yeah. So it's negative thoughts which actually build up and they build up and they build up. So many factors come into play. It's the environment, it's the different things that are surrounding us that are bringing us down. So I mean, it's very possible for you to talk about if you're seeing things are not working in the country, you'll be negative because things are not working, you know. So it's very hard for you to lean, very easy for you to lean towards that side. So it's pretty much normal. So that's what I was saying, and you said it, doesn't come automatically to train ourselves to do certain things. So these negative voices which are in our heads is also something that you need to learn to train yourself to be positive. Coming up with, and I know people think sometimes, you know, it's not something I want to do, but even mantras, you know, the way you wake up thinking a certain way, and listening to certain things. We think food is just the food that we eat and put it into our mouths and it goes into our tummies, but it's more than that. We feed our brain with really bad things and negative things.
Very true.
And then that's what we think about all day. Yeah.
You know, even God told Joshua, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. Shall be careful to meditate on it day and night. And God told him, if you do that, you will be prosperous and very successful. So it's what you're saying, feeding our minds. And I think, talking about that, because I don't think we've ever lived in a dispensation where we have so much entertainment as we do today. And there are those things that derail us, distract us. How do you deal with that? We have what we are calling FOMO. We have this fear of missing out. Every 5 minutes, we are checking something on our phones. We want the latest series. All these things are clamoring for our attention. How does that affect us? How do we deal with that?
It takes me back to being intentional. And avoiding time. Just how do you avoid, you know, those time-wasting how do you avoid them, those time-wasting activities? Takes me back to being intentional, and how can you, one of the things you need to do is to be structured. If you're not structured, you're going to waste a lot of time. And most of us are not.
I was going to ask, in your experience, where do the majority lean on, structure or lack of structure?
Lack of structure. Most people are very unstructured, and anything goes, and they wake up in the morning and they carry the day with the mood that they have.
Give me an example of structure. I'm assuming you're a structured person.
Very.
So how have you structured your life?
And I wasn't always structured. I wasn't always structured. I have structured my life in a way that first and foremost, it's not that I don't have downtimes. It's not that I don't have challenges. It's not that I don't have crises that meet me. I have all these things just like everybody else. Just that if I structure my day to start on a certain note, like if I wake up in the morning and I am reading a book in the morning, and sometimes I don't feel like reading it. Actually, sometimes I don't feel like it. Like I just look at it and I'm like, who wants to do this? I want to sleep, you know. But if I start my day on that note, I'm actually not an exercise person. I don't like to exercise. And my husband does. But I try to, you know, I try. I just try. There are things you don't like to do, but you do them. So if you start off your day on an exercise note, reading a book, you know, driving to work, listening to uplifting music, or
listening to me.
Absolutely. Or listening to you. That day already, how does that look? It's you know, it's on a certain level. As opposed to waking up and thinking, oh my goodness, I hate my job. I don't even. Sasa nani anaenda hiyo ofisi. Sasa hata mimi hata sitaki kuamka. Hata si ingekuwa holiday. You know. So
oh my goodness.
You just start off your day that way.
And we don't seem to understand how that kind of mood and thinking impacts our whole day.
It does. It really does. If you find yourself, if you sleep up to about 10, and then of course, I mean, and it's okay to sleep in.
Yeah.
I sleep in all the times, as in like if I want to rest. But you need to be at a place where you know when you're sleeping in, when you're not. It's not an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And even and this is one thing I keep saying, show up. You need to wake up, you need to dress up, and you need to show up. You need to show up
with a good attitude.
With a good attitude, and it takes me to this verse, and I'm sure you know it very well. I'm not sure. I think it's Luke. That the man who was at the pool. Do you remember the man who was at the pool? And there was this angel who was coming to stir the water.
Waters, yeah.
Etc. There's something about being there, showing up. You need to be there. If you're not there,
if he was not there,
yeah.
He would have missed his miracle.
Yes, he would have missed his miracle.
Yeah.
So how do you then want to get your miracle when you're not there? Yes, that's the thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
2 questions, I'll frame them in one. This one says, I love today's topic. Kuna age limit ya kuandika goals? Like, I mean, maybe a person anafanya andike goals between 15 and 30 years. I love maybe after 30 it's late. Like,
no.
Help me understand. Because sahi, ukiwa hata 25 na useme when I grow up, I want to be this. Watu wanakucheka. So that and also this, I'm 44, I've tried so many things, I'm feeling late. Can I still go back to school? Is there an age limit to the things we are discussing?
Yeah. Good. So let me start with a younger. If you're young, is there an age limit when it comes to it? No, there is no age limit. This is the thing, and I'd couple it with the other question. Appreciating that you're on your own race and journey helps a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're running, you don't have to run at the same pace as everybody else.
Yeah.
But we have this kind of pressure that, and pressure is real. Because you'll always see people are ahead of you.
Yes.
And you're panicking and you're like, oh my God, I'm not there yet. So there's no age limit. You can write your goals at any age. Any age, and you have to keep at it.
Yes.
You have to keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Keep pursuing it.
Keep pursuing it. Just to encourage the 44-year-old who's tried so many things. And just to perhaps, encourage.
Yeah.
It's not about the age. It's not about the age. I think if we look at the people who God used even in the Bible, it's not everybody who was young.
Yes. Moses was 80.
Yeah, Moses was 80. Moses was literally 80 years old. So it's about timing. It's about when God is saying, this is the time.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to be in pursuit of finding your purpose. I think that's where we go wrong. We don't work towards finding what is the one thing. Why was I created? Why am I here?
And I think sometimes, and we've had this conversation, the purpose, I find that the way the purpose conversation has been framed brings more confusion than clarity for many people, because it's brought across as mystical thing that you have to discover. And yet for me, purpose, from a Christian perspective, is what Jesus tells us to do. Love your neighbor.
Wow. Yeah.
That's purpose. Read the word of God. That's purpose.
Yeah.
Fellowship with other people. Before you delve into the mystical and the unknown, start with doing the known. Because when you do the known, then God will lead you into a specific one. Because unless you love people, how do you start feeding the widows or feeding the street children if that is your purpose? If you don't love people, start loving people and you will see yourself being directed.
Yeah.
I was going to say something on this 44-year-old. There's a story I heard of a gentleman who always wanted to be a doctor. Maxi likata. Me, I wanted to be a lawyer. Pengine this time ndio ningeshine Supreme Court.
By the way, labda ni wewe ungekuwa tunaona.
Mimi nakuambia, ama pengine ni mimi mngekuwa mna troll on social media. But Maxi likata. But this man went into a different career, did his career until retirement. Then when he retired, he said, I still want to be a doctor.
Yes.
Guess what he did?
He went to med school.
He went back to med school. At 55, was it 55 or 60?
Yeah.
Yeah, did med school for about 8 years. Graduated, became a doctor.
Yeah.
Kwani iko nini?
Yeah. Kwani who's asking me?
Yes.
Yes, I know.
Kwani ni kesho?
Kwani ni kesho. I know. And that's the thing.
That's the thing.
Yes, yes. And I really like what you said around purpose, just to go back to it. Start with the known. Start with the known. I like that because, and there's also something, and I talk a lot about my dad because he's always guiding me a lot. And he once told me, do you see the Bible?
Yeah.
It's a manual.
It is a manual, yeah.
It's your manual. Like, don't be lost. Just go to it. It has the direction on what you need to do.
Very true.
You know, and it clearly says if you seek the kingdom of God first, everything else just comes naturally.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we go wrong in terms of really, you know, putting so much, you know, energy into you're finding purpose, and it's good to do that. But then again, start with the known. That's my takeaway as well from here.
Listen to this one. I'm loving the topic. My son always wanted to be a lawyer and the president since he was in class 1. In class 4, he took a photo wearing a lawyer's gown and a wig, and another seated on the president's seat, the one at the archives. And he hung them in his room on the wall in front of his bed. To date, in Form 4, he still works hard towards it by looking at the photos in front of his bed. The boy is very focused and believes in what he calls the law of attraction. I believe he will achieve his vision. What do you say to that?
I think that is going to happen. That will happen, most certainly, especially when they say these things when they're very young.
Yeah.
And nowadays, the other thing you'll notice about children today, they know what they want. It may not be what you want, but they know what they want.
Yeah. Most of the times it's not what you want.
Yeah, like I want to be a DJ, Dad. Yeah,
like,
I want to be,
excuse me?
you know, yeah, I want to be a policeman. I want to be a, you know, some things they say and you're like, oh, but that's not what I want. Yeah, yeah.
By the way, do you know any firefighters?
Actually, I don't.
Neither do I.
I actually don't. Yeah. So it's. I believe that. I believe that. And today's generation, as I was saying, these people, they're very focused. If they say they want something, it's your job to actually nurture that. It's your job. That's the only job you have actually, as a parent, to just lead them, drive them towards it, not to divert it. Because in our times, if you say you want to be something, it's like the way everybody did become. Remember, there was a time everybody did become. Yeah. Because
that's the time every lady did secretarial.
Oh yes, I know. And then there's a time everybody did CPAs.
Yes.
You know, if you've not done CPA, what are you doing?
You don't know what you're doing with your life.
Doing in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bit different now, and that will come to pass.
We live in a generation where we love instant things.
Yeah.
Man, we want it now.
Yes, now.
And sometimes some of these things take time. Some of them take almost what seems like a lifetime.
Yeah.
So where do you gain the courage to keep going even when it seems like this thing is not happening? This house, I'm never building it.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trust in the process, because that's basically it. It's to trust the process. It's not easy. Trusting the process is one of the hardest things that you could do, especially if you're down, especially if you're desperate for certain things. And it's funny, I was telling my friend the other day, God doesn't like desperation. You know, when we are to that point, unless it's for him, you're desperate for things, for life things. It's not something that he wants you to be at. It's not a place he wants you to be at. He wants you to trust. He wants you to just be still, to pull back. So trusting the process is not easy, but it's something that we must do. Yeah.
What about comparison? Because that's also the other the other thing that we have to face in this generation. We are always comparing ourselves to others, especially because social media has given everybody a window to display what they are and what they're doing to the world. And so I'm seeing pictures of you in Hawaii.
I know.
Me at Naivasha. I'm telling you. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah. There's something my husband said some years back, about 10 years ago. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't even remember he said it. But he said most of the times, if you look ahead, you will see so many people ahead of you.
Yes.
They're driving big cars.
I'm telling
they
you.
They are going to, the
Hata
best
siwe
destinations.
Wanashangaa
ni nini unasema wewe.
Yes.
You will see them. Those people are there. Yeah? And it can discourage you.
Yeah.
But then again, we forget to look back. You will also see so many people desiring to be where you are.
To be where you are.
Yes. We don't look back. We don't look back. We
Yes.
don't. We are just looking at the people who are but you don't look back and say, oh, hey, God, you've really blessed me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nikona ka gari kangu, kadogo, but I have something.
Nimetoka far.
Na kuna watu wako huko nyuma. Na waona, na ni wengi.
Yeah. True.
True. Yeah, and so that keeps me going and helps me to realize that first I am on my own path, and so comparison then should not exist. And then secondly, to always look back sometimes, so that I can be able to appreciate my blessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
As we finish, talk to that person who, the people who are stuck in in a space where they don't feel they are worth some of these things. Maybe because of the way you were raised up or the challenges you had in life. So you've come to believe a certain lifestyle or certain things are for certain people only. Now, wewe utoshi mboga, you are not in that WhatsApp group. Yeah, in fact, your phone doesn't even have WhatsApp. Yako ni kabambe. So how would you encourage that individual today?
Yes. Wow. So a few things. One of the things, and I was having this discussion with my friends this past weekend, does God have favorites? Yeah, so even when you said it, I was like, it's something I've actually discussed in the past weekend. And we are God's children. We are all God's children. Yes. I personally don't believe that God has favorites, but I believe that He favors people, and He could favor you. Yeah. And there's the story of Abraham, and what did God say to Abraham? I will give you land as far as you can see. As far as you can see. And that has been my takeaway this year, because I realized, how far am I looking? Yeah.
It goes back to what you said earlier. Vision, writing it down.
Yeah.
What you can see.
What can you see?
Yeah. If you can't see it, He won't give it to you.
He won't. He won't give it to you. And showing up, because I feel like we don't show up. And even if we do, we don't show up at our best.
Yeah.
You've been called for an interview, but you just grabbed that suit from your wardrobe. It's not even a suit. It's crumbled up. It's not even... Surely. Umefika, viatu ziko, and that's okay, because maybe umetembea. But there's one thing I used to do when I was younger. I wasn't even driving. Let me tell you, I would go in my low shoes, nimeshuka matatu, nitembee, na nitafika. Then if the interview is on 9th floor, naenda 6th floor. I go wear my heels. I show up. Show up.
Show up looking in the part.
Show up. If you don't show up, it becomes very difficult to convince that you're worth it,
True.
And just to encourage that person, your time is coming, but you need to prepare. We keep asking God for so many things, but are we ready? Are we ready? Are you ready for those things? Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Sylvia, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That looked like a minute.
Yeah, I know. It's because we had structure.
Absolutely. Because we had structure. We are structured people.
Yes, the conversation was structured.
Yes.
I hope that Sylvia has motivated you today. Yeah. In the midst of all the noise out there, have a vision, have a plan, pursue it, keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't use the side mirror too much, comparing yourself to others. I love what she said. There are always those who are ahead of us, and sometimes we focus so much on them, we forget to look back. Look back and see that you're also ahead of so many people, and you can be an inspiration to them. What you're living life, the kind of life you're living now is somebody else's prayer request. So be thankful and be grateful. I have to shut it down. Until next time, God willing, have a good day.
Thank you for watching. Remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notified whenever we upload new fresh content every day. Stay tuned and enjoy fresh, uplifting content.